welcome to my channel. I'm Rebecca. I'm a spiritual medium and animal communicator. If you are more interested in my animal communication and channeling work, please head over to my other YouTube channel, which is The Words of the Wild. Here on this channel, we discuss more things aimed at the human experience of spirituality and the energy within the collective. So today I want to talk about an energy update. I don't do energy updates very often. You will see some spiritual teachers doing them really often, perhaps every month, every week. I don't. I do them as I feel called to do them. And the reason for that is because there's always a lot going on, but sometimes there are key things that I feel come through and there are moments of significance. So I tend to just do them as and when I feel that something very important comes through for us. So during meditation, I was getting this information coming through, and it was coming through rapidly. Normally, the information comes through quite quickly, but it comes through in quite a measured way, whereas this felt like a real kind of, like there was a lot going on. It was coming through quite rapidly. And I was writing my notes as I was getting the information. I was writing my notes, and I'll go back through those notes. If I'm looking away, it's just because I'm reading them and piecing them together. But there's some really interesting things that have come up since I looked back on the information that came through. Some of it I wanted to clarify before I came forward and spoke about it with you. And it's just been really interesting to me. Some of the things I thought that these things may have related to actually have sparked other things for me, which has been really interesting, and I've learned some new things too. So let's get into the information that came through. So I feel like October is going to be a very significant month for the human collective. As we know, there's been vast amounts of people awakening spiritually and understanding that the world that we've been living in is actually very different to what we've been seeing. We are seeing at a deeper level. And I keep being shown that more people are actually seeing on a spiritual psychic level now. They're trusting more about their feelings and their intuition, and people are kind of coming back online. So they are remembering who they are and actually connecting more to our innate wisdom and using all of our senses rather than just existing at a surface level with the things that we've been told and the things that we see in front of us. We're all questioning a lot more deeply now. And if there are people around you where you feel that that still isn't the case, and perhaps, they're still in some kind of slumber, do know that they will be kind of coming online very soon. There will be small things, even if you haven't noticed anything big, there will be small, subtle things that are starting to kind of, just kind of to awaken them to small things where they might feel that something isn't quite right, or they'll do a double take on something that they thought before. They might hear in passing a conversation and it makes them think about something that they believed before, or to look into something deeper. There's a lot of this going on, and it feels like the energy is like it's like a buzzing of within the minds of people. There's like this buzzing electrical charge that's kind of coming up to the surface. So I thought that was really interesting. First of all, there are a lot of old wounds coming up. If you follow me over on Instagram, you will know that during this meditation session, I was actually visited by the energy of Neptune, which was quite surprising. It wasn't something that I had considered channeling or working with. And when his energy came through, he was talking about us navigating our old wounds as we ride these high seas. And I just kept seeing like him rising up out of the stormy seas. We are clearing the way by working through those old wounds and doing our own inner work to address our shadows and healing those parts of us that have perhaps been very uncomfortable for a long, long time. We are actually clearing the path, moving through the storm and clearing the way ahead for us to have a more peaceful future. Something that I heard was Saturn is calling. And I'm very interested in astrology, but I am by no means any expert. I listen to Pam Gregory. I think she's a wonderful astrologer. I love her energy. She's a great source of information. And when I looked this up about Saturn, I wanted to know where Saturn would be within our planetary alignments during October. And a key thing that came up for me is on October the 11th, Venus and Saturn will be opposite. And Venus keeps appearing every time I'm online. I keep seeing something about Venus as well. And I feel like this is all connected. Venus and Saturn are very different. They're very opposing planets. So you have Venus, which is associated with kind of a gentle, softer, loving, warm energy. And Saturn is very much about boundaries and discipline and control. So with them being opposite each other at the beginning of October, I feel that this is going to be, it's like, we've already been navigating kind of the light and the dark, the push and the pull. They're opposing forces. So it might feel a little bit uncomfortable and a little bit turbulent as things come up for us. But also know that the planetary alignments are also affecting the energy, which then comes down and, affects the human collective energy. So what I would say, the information I gain from that is just to be very mindful, to reflect before we react. So if we are in situations with friends, family, loved ones, co-workers, where there might be an opposing view on things, just sit with it, take on board, what someone else is saying to us, and let it sit with us for a while. Think about it at a deeper level. Like I was saying, use that innate wisdom and our intuition to actually feel into what the other person is saying, to try and understand their point of view rather than just reacting, if we feel triggered or we completely don't align with what they're saying. I have found on my own journey, I always used to be very quick to react, and it really is a skill to reflect and sometimes bite your tongue and hold back from giving your opinion. But once you start doing it, what you actually find is even in people that you completely disagree with, you have completely different views with, you can often find some little nugget of information that will make you question something, that will drive a change in you to go and look into something further, even if you started off by, I'm going to prove them wrong, and you want to go and look. And it will open up more information. And this is how we all grow and we learn. So it's really important during the month of October that we do take time to reflect before we react, because the energies are heightened. We have this opposing push-pull energy. And I just think we need to be very mindful about where we're expending our energy as well. We don't want to be getting into arguments, arguing. Quite often I've found if someone is completely focused on their point of view, arguing just really depletes your energy. It's not going to change their point of view. In fact, it might make them more steadfast, because in escalating and arguing, they just switch off. They're not listening. So conserve your energy, go within, and see what's coming up for you. Every time something occurs or you see something on the world stage that is making you feel uncomfortable, triggered, angry, don't react. Don't go straight to the comments section online and, type in your angry thoughts. Actually say to yourself, and I make this a daily practice now, whenever I notice these uncomfortable feelings coming up, I will say, why has that made me feel that way? What am I really feeling? Is this really anger, or is it fear, or am I scared? Am I sad? I'll go through this kind of like having a chat with myself to see where I'm at and to understand myself first, because when we understand ourselves better, we can present and understand in the world. We present ourselves better in the world, which enables other people to understand us, because we have clearer communication. We can't communicate clearly if we don't even understand ourselves. So October is going to be challenging, I think. People kind of coming back online, as I said, and using that, using all of their senses and that innate wisdom, and we'll all be gaining more knowledge and information, and seek out those other people that are at that same point as you, that are ready to do that. They're not looking to argue. They're actually looking to have healthy conversations, to understand, and they're willing to understand. This whole part of, you know, being on Earth, I have come to realize, is really about having an open heart and an open mind. We have to go towards things with curiosity and love, and then, you know, meet things and meet people where they are at. We can't go charging in and try to force all our views on them, because it just comes back with resistance. Even if eventually they do come around to the same way of thinking, you know, there might be all this turbulence in between that could have damaged your relationship. So we just have to be a bit more mindful about how we're interacting in the world and where we're placing our energy during October. I think also this comes into where I am in the UK. It's coming into autumn now, and you can feel the change in the air. The days are getting shorter. Nature is changing, and it's really a time where we're being asked to kind of slow down, rest, reflect, and heal, and to go within. We don't want to be exerting ourselves. We need to start nourishing ourselves and, you know, looking after ourselves to regain our energy and our vitality, so that when the season comes around again and the new year begins, we're ready to be vibrant and to show up fully. We're really being asked and called to slow down right now and to go inward. I just keep having this go inward. And again, I mentioned on Instagram a while ago about how I just had this extreme fatigue lately. When I asked Spirit what it was, I was being told that it's a time of going within, where we're being asked to slow down just as the seasons are changing. And, you know, if you're on the opposite side of the world and you're coming into spring and summer, quite likely you will be feeling those rejuvenated energies as you come out of that period of rest. And again, I always think it's beautiful because it's about balance. So, you know, as I used to really struggle with seasonal affective disorder and feeling quite depressed when the nights started drawing in, and I knew that summer was coming to a close, and I don't feel that way anymore, because I can appreciate the changing of the seasons and the beauty and understanding within every season. But I also take joy in knowing that as winter approaches for us, other people on the other side of the world are going to be getting the joy of the longer days and the things to look forward to, and more outside activities and the warmer days. And that's lovely too. It's all about balance, which is just beautiful. So going back to more of the information that I received, I was hearing soft landing, fast approach, tethered but not torn. And those three things go together. And this fast approach is what I was talking about with the information coming through quickly. We have got so much information coming through to us now on a daily basis. While that's wonderful, because there are a lot of things being exposed that we weren't privy to previously, we can also be overwhelmed and overloaded with it. We don't need to know everything all of the time. So again, the soft landing is about kind of, you know, go into things softly. We don't need to know it all. Don't spend all day scrolling on your phone. It's a habit that I have to get out of, is scrolling at night before I go to bed. I get into bed and I think I'll just have a quick look at what's going on in the world, and I'll be looking, and, you know, a lot of the things I look at are things I enjoy, things about animals or you know, fun things. But again, it's still overloading your brain. We need to make some space within ourselves to actually learn about ourselves, but also to have that time to breathe. And I think because we are in such a busy and technological age, we've just come to accept this super fast pace of life, and life isn't supposed to be that way. If you look back towards our ancestors, and going back to what I say about the changing of the seasons, they lived in harmony with the seasons. So they ate what was in season at the time. You know, when we had the hunter-gatherer mentality, we were only hunting for a portion of the day. They weren't out there all day, and they would come together as families and as communities, and they would share stories and wisdom and teach each other skills. And these are the things that we're kind of lacking at the moment. Spending hours online scrolling, they don't really benefit us. It just fills our brain. It takes up more space within us. And also to be mindful of what we're consuming. You know, there is so much fear and so much darkness that depletes our energy too. If you're constantly looking at doom and gloom all the time, you know, like listening to the news, if you listen to the news on a loop all day, you would think that the world was ending. There are lots of good things still. There are lots of good people. There are lots of beautiful, wonderful things happening in the world. So we have to remember that. Again, it's all about balance. I was being told about the being tethered but not torn. We don't have to. Yes, we're tethered here for the time that we are, you know, the time that we're in our bodies and we're physically here upon the earth. But we don't have to be torn away from that spiritual aspect of us as well. It's all a part of us. You know, we are souls having a human experience. So while we are still tethered in our bodies, which brings many opportunities for us, things that, you know, we can experience and enjoy and learn and grow from, we have to also embrace the spiritual side of ourselves and look more deeply into who we are and understanding each other, understanding the world. So I really enjoyed that way that they phrased it to me, was that yes, we might be tethered here, but we're not torn away from our spirituality. It can all exist together. A colour that was coming through, and if you followed me for a while, you'll know that often during my client sessions, both with animals and people, I will be given colours that will aid in healing. They're colours that symbolise healing and colours that are needed for different people, different animals, for different stages of their life path and their growth. And what Spirit was saying to me was healing requires indigo. And it is considered, you know, very, very linked to the third eye and wisdom, connecting to our innate wisdom, and yeah, just getting in touch with our intuition. So I thought that was actually lovely. So indigo is a great colour. So things you can do if you're not into crystals. Just wear something of that colour. You know, if you're someone that goes to work, perhaps you have a tie that you could wear, an indigo coloured tie, or a pair of socks, or even if you had a piece of fabric that was an indigo colour, you could just tuck it in your pocket or in your bag. It's just having the energy of that colour around you, which will also help facilitate healing. So they've said that deeper secrets that remain buried will be unearthed. And I feel like this is happening on a daily basis. More and more things are coming up that, you know, have been hidden from us, things that we didn't know. They said we can breathe a deep sigh of relief now. The time is coming to an end. There are majestic things to come. And I actually feel that was really... it was just really nice, because I think we can feel a lot that there's so much chaos in the world. We feel that it's never ending. You know, sometimes, and I know I've done it in the past, you wake up and instead of waking up and thinking, oh, I'm alive, another wonderful day, you wake up thinking, oh my goodness, what nightmare is today going to bring? And that's part of living in that state of fear energy, which we want to try to move out of. So for them saying, you know, the clock's ticking forward, and this is the thing, sure enough, you know, day follows night. It's going to keep going and keep going. And for as long as we are upon the earth, living our soul contract, we can't go back. We can't go back. So what they're saying is, you know, things are changing, even if sometimes it might not feel like it. There are more things coming up to the surface, and I feel like October is going to be a big month for that. There's going to be more exposure about things that were hidden from us, things that will, again, bring more people into awareness and help people to see things differently. So I felt like that's very positive. The time is coming to an end. And we have to remember as well that, time in spirit is very different to time upon the earth. It's not measured in the same way. So, we can't say, oh, yeah, next week it's all going to be fixed. We get over each hurdle, something gets exposed, we realise, we choose not to be involved in that anymore. We move forward, we heal, we grow, we then move on to something else. And so even if sometimes it can feel that you're stuck in it, what I would always say is it's really good practice to actually have a look and do a little like a review on yourself, like you would in a job. You'd have a yearly appraisal where you'd look at the things you'd done well, the areas you want to learn more about, improvements that can be made. Do that, maybe on a monthly basis for yourself, because that will actually help you to see how far you have come. I mean, even week to week, we're growing, we're moving forward. So, unless you're really determined to stay stuck and stagnant and do nothing and speak to no one and never learn anything, which I don't believe anyone really can do that, I think that you're making progress and you're moving forward to something better. So just bear that in mind when you do feel that things are difficult and it's all chaotic. Just take time to actually look at you and look at how far you've come, and you will see that you have made progress. I was being shown beautiful golden orange crystals sparkling in the sun, and I heard orange is the path to freedom. And it was reminding me of the yellow brick road for some reason in The Wizard of Oz. How they follow the yellow brick road till they get to Oz, and they kind of have all these adventures on the way, but ultimately it leads to them discovering the man behind the curtain. And I feel like that's quite symbolic of that, we're traveling forward on this road through our own individual lives, but also collectively we are moving forward and we are slowly coming together. We actually are reaching that point. And I think even though it seems that there's so much division still, I do think it's quite obvious that there are these little areas where you can see people are coming together. We will eventually remember that we are all one. Whether that's in my lifetime or not, who knows? But we are heading down this path. So the orange is the path to freedom, I felt was very significant. There's a lot of bright light around us, guiding us, helping us. They were saying finding a way forward through the jungle. And what I was actually shown was, it was like a jungle, but all the vines had different pieces of paper on them. And they were things like news, media, social constructs. It was all of these things were like all of the things that we deal with on a day-to-day basis. And again, it's that, it says there was a clearing in the midst. Portals are opening. Be aware of your surroundings. Hearing intuition and healing intuition. Do not be mesmerized by that of another. Gauge the balance and weigh the way forward. So I feel like these portals that are opening are portals of opportunity. They are portals of growth, of healing. And the way I was shown them is almost like little hubs popping up all over the earth. So in different places where they are needed, it will be like there'll be a healing hub over here in this country, because right now this place needs the most healing. Over here, this will be an information hub that suddenly the people in this country are going to be awoken and have more information. People are connecting to their inner wisdom, their inner intuition, and the skills and the wisdom that our ancestors not only relied on themselves, but have been passed down through the bloodlines that we've slowly forgotten about. We're going to start remembering again. Not being mesmerized by another. It's very easy for us to look outside of ourselves for a savior. And my understanding is we have to start within. There are people we can meet on our journey who assist us and help us to view things differently. They share wisdom, knowledge. However, don't rely on someone else to save you. You know, your life is your life. You've made a spiritual contract to come here and experience life in your way. And that means, you know, embracing all of it, enjoying, you know, the ups, moving through the lower points, and understanding and healing and growing. You then can take the things that you learn and you can assist others. But we should be looking to help ourselves first and then assisting others. We shouldn't be placing the responsibility of healing, saving, or fixing us upon somebody else, because they cannot do that for us. Only we can do that for ourselves. Also, within that statement, not being mesmerized by others, there's a lot of divide. I mean, obviously there's a lot of divide everywhere, but there's a lot of divide, especially in the spiritual community, which, you know, it's been talked about in many different cultures for many, many years, about, you know, the darkness masquerading as light and false prophets. Just be aware of that. You know, when you watch things, when you watch videos, like my video with YouTube, see what resonates with you. Look deeper into things. You'll feel things. If that's on your vibration and that aligns with your truth, you will feel it. Pay attention to the feelings that come up in your body. And if people are making videos that are full of fear and, you know, the world's going to end and you need to do this and you should really buy my products because they're going to save you, think about the energy behind that. Is that there to help you, or is that coming from ego, where actually it's just about lining their pockets and making them popular and giving them more clicks and likes? Or is it genuinely coming from a place of care to help you? Because anything that is being shared from spirit is coming in to empower us. And I always say this about my sessions. It's designed to empower you to feel more confident, to understand yourself, to invite you to look more deeply at yourself. There is nothing scary or terrifying coming through, because that will make you live in fear and then you're not going to move forward. So just be mindful of, again, where you put your energy and who you are listening to, what the yes, you know, confirmation of, yes, this aligns with me, this feels like my truth, and what that feeling feels like of the, oh no, I think there's some, you know, there's some undercurrent here of energy that I don't quite like. It's either ego or it's darker and I don't like it. Start listening to that and trusting yourself. It's very important, because it's easy, especially when we are anxious about the way that the world is. It's very easy for us to get taken off in a tangent that might not be with our best interests at heart. So just bear that in mind. One thing that they said to me was, we have to clear the old obstacles. They cannot be outrun in the month of October. So things might come up that will be uncomfortable. Sometimes there might be things on the world stage that come up as a collective for humanity to deal with. And in a way, I kind of think that those things are, even though difficult, perhaps a little easier, because everyone's going through them at the same time. Whereas the things that happen in your own personal life, for instance, say if you suddenly become unemployed because your company closes, or you lose a loved one, they're very personal obstacles, and they're very hard and difficult, and it can feel like the world is going on around you with, you know, they're completely oblivious to the fact that your whole world has stood still for some time. So these obstacles that come up, they come up. I've had so many times when things have come up for me and been really difficult and horrible, and at the time, and you could not have said to me, this was here to help you, it was here to open you up or to guide you onto something else. Because in those moments, you're all consumed by that, and it's difficult and it's horrible. So this isn't to take away from anything you're experiencing right now. Experience it, feel how you're feeling, but do know that this is a part of your journey. Because when I look back at some of the most horrific things I've encountered in my life, I can then see, but then 6 months on, because of that happening, I did this, and then it led me to here. I can see, but again, they always say hindsight is wonderful. So it's not to dismiss what you're going through and the obstacles you're facing right now, but just bear that in mind. And like I said, the clock is always ticking forward. We have to remember that all we have is right now. So feel how you're feeling, allow yourself to go through those emotions, but also know that these obstacles are part of your journey. They said, we will be lighting up the darkness. There are messages on script. Take a note of what is coming. There is no control, only the illusion of control. Trust in our forefathers. So again, this is the whole things coming to the surface, particularly on the world stage in October. More things will be coming up and coming out to waken people up to the fact that, many of the things that we've been told have not been true, and to gift us a new perspective and to see things with kind of fresh eyes, if you like. Anything that has been scripted, anything that is not of truth, will be coming up, and it feels quite exciting. It's quite an exciting energy, because it's literally like, like they say, what is that, the cat's out of the bag. You can't anything that's not been in truth cannot now be hidden, because everything's being exposed. It's like turning the light on in a dark room. Suddenly you see everything, rather than just stumbling around, tripping over things and looking for things to make sense just in front of you. When the lights come on, everything's illuminated. And this is what they're showing me now, is that in October more things are coming up, but let them come up. Some things might be shocking, some things might make you feel uncomfortable, and especially if you are new to, this is the start of your spiritual awakening, it can be terrifying. I remember at the start for me, when I suddenly started thinking, oh my goodness, all these things I'd had feelings about as a child suddenly was being confirmed to me, that yes, what you felt was the truth. We've been lied to a lot. And it felt horrible. It felt like literally someone had pulled the floor out from below me, and I was just free falling in this, not knowing what was going on. So again, it's that whole energy of going inward, allowing yourself to feel these things and moving through things gently, not bombarding yourself with, so much information, going down all these rabbit holes. We don't need to know everything all of the time. Look at your life, look at the things that affect you currently, start there, and then move out as you feel safer to do so, as you can deal with it, because it can be scary. It's a lot to take on board, but also look at it as a bit of an adventure. This is like a brand new page in a book. Like when you were younger and you would get a new exercise book at school and it was all crisp and clean and nothing was written in it. You had a chance to do your best handwriting in it. That's how I look at this time on Earth, is that actually it's very exciting, because it's like it's all being rewritten. Everything is coming up, and we're stripping away all of the pages with all the scruffy handwriting on, the mistakes and the things that didn't make sense. We're looking at them and going, oh no, that's not where we want to be now. And we're going into the clean pages of the exercise book and doing our best handwriting. So I look at it as quite an exciting time as well. And I think in October, you're going to have to find your own individual balance of, being aware of the things that are coming up and exposed, but also stepping back when you need to not overload yourself. And that's only, only you can do that on an individual personal level. So they were saying, yes, there is no control, only the illusion of control. And that's, I found, a thing that's quite hard to get your head around, because you think, well, we live in this society and we're governed by this, that and the other. But actually, none of that really exists. Souls having a human experience. No one is any better or worse than anyone else. We're all here learning and growing. We're blessed to live upon the earth and for her to provide so many beautiful, bountiful resources for us. So actually, nobody controls anybody else. we all have a duty to control ourselves and our own behaviors, and to, know what is right and wrong, and to live morally, and not harming others. So, that's something that's quite difficult to get your head around. But once you start thinking about it on a spiritual level, it's very different. It's very different to living on this material level. You start seeing people differently. You respect people because they're people, not because someone tells you I'm above you because of my position here. They're all material things that don't mean anything. At the end of the day, we all come into this world and we all leave this world the same way. So we're all the same, and this is why it's so important that we get back to having this unity consciousness, because we have to come together. And the whole, what they were saying about trust in our forefathers, again, they're showing me like the ancestors, when the ancestors used to come together, as I mentioned earlier, more community minded, sharing wisdom, helping each other, raising each other up, supporting local businesses, and just doing more things that connect us to the land and to ourselves. Stepping away, technology is wonderful, but I think that it's got to a point where technology has come so far into our lives, it's pushed a lot of the other stuff out. And I think we can enjoy technology and the benefits it brings us, but let's not lose ourselves to it. We're becoming incredibly lazy, especially intellectually lazy, because now we have things like ChatGPT, writing papers for people, writing letters. People aren't even thinking anymore. And the danger of that is you step away from yourself, and before you know it, you're just existing. It's just in a different way. Everything's so convenient and easy, but where's your substance? What makes you you? There's nothing anymore that makes you you, because everything else does everything for you. And then you're almost a machine, which is scary territory. We need to remember who we are. We need to come together, and we need to embrace the benefits technology affords us, but also to get back to, connecting with the earth, because we are a part of nature. We're all connected. We're seeing as well something big coming up in October in the Ukraine, and I'm not entirely sure about that. What I was shown was Odessa and Medusa. Now, Medusa obviously has the snakes for hair. And I could see the snakes from Medusa were spilling out like tentacles, traveling all across the Ukraine. And I was hearing Odessa is a focal point. Something big is happening. There's a large gathering there. I'm not entirely sure what that is. I did look it up, and I did see that very recently there were some investigations being done over some fraudulent activity that was happening with, I think it was like with members of their parliament. I'm not entirely sure how their political system is over there. So I don't know whether it's to do with that, more things that are coming up. But I could just see that. I could see that the snakes on Medusa's hair were like tentacles, and they were spreading out all across the place. So just maybe bear that in mind, that, something is going to be coming up with Odessa. So what I heard was wipe out, and I was seeing a whiteboard, and it was like, every time this hand was trying to write on the whiteboard, it was being rubbed out by another hand. It was being erased. As fast as it was being written, it was being erased. So I'm wondering if there is something there where perhaps it is to do with this corruption that's being exposed. Things are coming up, and it's being tried very hard to keep it quiet. So that's just something else that came in to bear in mind. When I spoke with Neptune, the energy of Neptune, they were saying about the oceans are shifting. The pull of the oceans is changing the balance of the planet and redirecting the earth. The masculine energy is rising, and the feminine energy is falling softly around it. And again, I feel that this goes back to also the Venus and Saturn energy. They're very feminine, masculine energies. And what they were saying was there's finally a blending of the energies. There will be no more dominance. The patriarchal energies falling away, and healing can begin. So it feels like where we've had this, and it was very needed, the rise in the divine feminine, because for so long the divine feminine had been suppressed. It feels that now we've got to a point where there is perhaps equilibrium and the energies are back in balance. So we're going to see this start to shift within October. We'll start to see this energy. The masculine energy will rise up and the feminine energy will kind of fall softly around it like a cloak. So they will work beautifully together. So I think that that's actually quite exciting, because it's been a really long time since those energies have been balanced in humanity. We see it in nature all the time, the beautiful balance, but for some reason we've really struggled to maintain that balance. So it'll be interesting to see what comes up with that throughout October and going forward. The next thing that came up was touchstone. And the first thing I automatically thought of was touchstone pictures in Hollywood. And I was looking up to see, you know, what could be the relevance of that. Is there anything? And I hadn't realised that Touchstone Pictures actually stopped operating in, I think it was 2017. And I also didn't know that it was a part of Disney. It was part of the Disney Disney productions, and it was more aimed at kind of like the what do you call them? I know you have different ratings in America, but whereas Disney was kind of aimed at children, this was more aimed at teens and adults. It was slightly, it gave them a slightly wider reach. But that actually stopped after 33 years of being, producing movies. So I was wondering if it was something to do with that, but I couldn't find any news about that at all. Anywhere. But then I found out, and this was, again, like I said, I often learn these things when spirit gives me information. It helps me to further myself because I'm always learning. Touchstone is often used in two different ways. Basically, the touchstone, so there is a touchstone which is a black stone, and I'm not sure what type of stone it is. I'm wondering if it's like obsidian or something like that. I don't know. But that is a stone that is used to test the purity of silver and gold. So that's one use for it. But also touchstone is also it's like a benchmark. The touchstone is the benchmark or a set of criteria for measuring something, for something. So it's basically like a standard for something. So I'm wondering if there's going to be a new standard that's going to come up in some area. Things are going to be done differently. So I'm going to keep an eye on that. But I thought that was quite interesting, because the first thing I'd thought of was touchstone pictures, because I didn't know about it being anything else. I keep being pulled to Mount Shasta on a personal level. I've had it for several years now. I keep being pulled, and I think that, eventually I am going to have to go and visit it. But I know there are a lot of legends around Mount Shasta. It's a very spiritually active place. I do believe that there are portals there, and there's a lot of healing energy. I keep being shown Mount Shasta, and I was seeing it breaking open, and this huge gold hand was gesturing like to showcase what is inside the mountain, and I was just hearing secrets will be unearthed. Now I know for a long time people have talked about several different things, that the hollow earth theory, that there's perhaps other places within the mountain. Also the ancient kingdom of Lemuria, they believe that there is something below Mount Shasta, like a whole other city below Mount Shasta. But I feel that where it was breaking open with this huge gold hand, I know I was reading today and I hadn't realised it is a type of volcano, isn't it? And I don't actually know if it has ever erupted. But I don't think it's that. I feel like it's actually information and wisdom that's going to come out about it, like we've had more information coming out about the pyramids recently. I feel that there is going to be more information that comes out about Mount Shasta and the surrounding land. I was seeing a lot of ancient maps as well, and being shown new lands will be discovered. So I don't know whether that's all tied in. It feels like it is connected. I feel like there's going to either be more land that is discovered that was not known about, or there's going to be kind of lands that perhaps we thought had disappeared, maybe due to, rising sea levels or something like that. These lands are actually going to come up, and we're going to be quite amazed that actually, wow, these things are coming back into our awareness. So that's another thing to keep an eye on during October, any new discoveries. I was hearing about unorthodox time travel, rising up, looking glass. I know about the Looking Glass project. If you don't, you can look it up. It was a project used by, I think it was the CIA for many years, and they were looking into, kind of like, it was like almost like an astral traveling projection project where they used people that had the ability to do that to assist in predicting and understanding timeline events in the future. And I think it was also used in order to help shape some of the way the things happened in the future. And what I was hearing was it was being used in nefarious ways. There are stumbling blocks, though. They cannot see anything anymore. And then I was hearing there is a crypt keeper. The darkness holds the light. And what I was seeing was a cloak of darkness all around this golden goblet, which was absolutely full of light. And the darkness has been smothering the light for so long. But when I stepped forward to look into this goblet, what I could actually see was a tornado of light spinning and spinning, and it was about to burst out of the goblet. And what I heard was, the goblet of fire is the goblet of truth. And they just kept repeating this. The goblet of fire is the goblet of truth. Rise up, speak wisely, tame the external fears. Deception is entrenched. Deception's been on our earth for so long. And for so many, it's normal. Like we're living in the deception without even realizing we were being deceived. And as we are being awoken, this is what's happening. The darkness can't contain the light anymore because the light is getting ready to burst forward. Before it was just small pockets of light, and now it's becoming that everyone is starting to come online and to be aware. And what I was being shown was it was a huge sheet of glass floating in the darkness with millions of tiny squares on it. And when I looked closely, they were all tiny pictures of faces, and all of these faces are like really angry and screwed up. And these are the faces of the people that have been controlling the planet for such a long time. And what they were showing me was, I was just hearing clearing old energies, old timelines, old forces, and breaking away. And as I heard that, this glass just shattered, and all of these tiny faces just fragmented off in their millions into space and became no more. Clearance is coming. Hold the line. There's one more step. And then they went on to explain about how this beautiful energy is going to be appearing within us. And what they said was, the higher self is pushing through, the physical body is weak, the mind cannot comprehend the higher timeline. Allow it to take place. It is subtly moving in. Joy will be restored, peace will be restored, balance will be restored. And that goes back to what I was feeling about this extreme tiredness. This is the physical body trying to balance itself, trying to rest so it can take on board these new frequencies. It's very different for us. Never in our lifetime have we experienced such a huge energy shift upon the planet. And so our human bodies, who have been, we've been rushing around, we've been, like I said, living in deception for so long, completely unaware. This is all new to us. It's like a huge tidal wave of all of this newness. And so we are physically struggling to process it all. So we just need to be more mindful of that, be gentle with ourselves. So nourish our bodies, listen to them. If you're being called to rest on days when you have lots of energy, enjoy it. look at, nourishing foods and nourishing for your mind as well. Like I said about being aware of what you're consuming in the media, not living in that doom and gloom and going down all the rabbit holes all of the time. Take a break, fill yourself up with things that bring you joy and things that interest you and help you to move forward and grow on your spiritual path. Magical opportunity awaits. Darkness is sinking. Light is rising to the top. And what I was shown, and I really wish I could draw this, because it was so beautiful to be living in this moment of spirit showing me this. The fire tornado in the goblet is actually manifesting now in the hearts of people, and it's actually making people quite unwell. And what they were showing me was the higher light. This is the higher light and the inner fire. It is awakened and getting ready to burst out of people, but right now our bodies aren't sure how to process it. All will be well in time. And what I was shown was these strands of DNA reaching out to touch the goblet, and as they touched the goblet, they then became fire particles, which were going off into different parts of the body wherever they were needed. The brain started to fire up. They were showing me how the ears are really important, being able to truly listen. The ears for many will suddenly come online. And they said to me, people are hearing through the words. They will actually start to feel the meaning of things. So rather than just hearing the words, people will start to be able to listen through that, to hear the intent behind the words, to know, to use their intuition and their discernment, to know the agenda. Are the words truthful? Hearing is being really important for the month of October when it starts coming online for people, but going forward in this journey. And they kept saying, the old is decaying. And what I was being shown was, I'm sure many of you are aware of all the hatefulness online. There is so much hate online at the moment. Any post online you can go on to, anything, especially anything political, and you can just see so much hate being spewed. Now, there are a lot of bot accounts, but there are also a lot of people that are hurting and angry, and they're just coming online to vomit all of their hate out in these comments. And they were showing me, like people making fun or mocking others, not believing the things that other people are saying. They've got, they found out things and they're saying, like, look at this study, or people still mocking them, not wanting to see, people just being outwardly horrible for people having a different view to them. And what I was showing was, it was like this thick green sludgy mucus coming out of these people. And they gave me understanding about it, because I was getting quite upset about this a couple of weeks ago. I was like, so many people are disgusting, like the way they speak to others and the hate that they're spewing. I couldn't believe it. I was like half thinking, well, if this is, we're meant to be heading for unity consciousness, we're definitely taking 10 steps back, because it really didn't feel that way. But what they showed me and the new understanding they gave me was, the reason that this is coming up is because people don't like this feeling of change. Even though they don't like what's going on in the world around them, they actually have found safety living in these control systems, living in the deception. It has been a safe place. And so now their very existence and everything they believed is about to be shattered. And so, excuse me, they have to see something new and something different, and they don't want to. So they're angry and they're afraid, and all the hate that is coming up and coming out of them is twofold. It is because of this feeling and they don't like it, but also it has to come up and out to make space for the light and the fire to then be implemented in their hearts too. So if they're all full up of this anger and hate, their hearts are closed off. Whereas if they're actually getting it up and out, even though it's not pleasant for anyone else witnessing, it actually has to come up and out, because it needs to make space for the light and the fire to be implemented. And it says, the true fire burns brightly, not with hate, but with love. A fierce love that cannot be taken down, cannot be burned out, and cannot be destroyed. There is a lot of darkness coming to the surface, but also a lot of people are holding the light. And so when people get angry about injustices and things in the world, you see there's like there's the extreme. There's like the people that will try to seek understanding, and they will hold the light in a higher vibration, and they have the fire and the passion to deal with it that way. But then you'll have what we're understanding now is like the false fire, which is burning with hate, and that is the destruction, the violence, the nastiness. So that's what we would, that's like false. We would say that's the false side of it. But that's, what Spirit are saying. True fire burns brightly, not with hate, but with love. It's a fierce love, and it cannot be taken down. So if we can still find ourselves in love rather than hate. And this was a real moment for me, seeing these people saying such hateful things online to others, being angry about it and thinking, well, there's no hope for humanity, to then being given this understanding is a prime example of that, is seeing it from a point of view of love and wanting to understand, opening our hearts to try to understand a perspective that we completely do not align with. So that was a real teachable moment for me. What they said was, this has to go in waves. The light workers who are tired and exhausted have to step back and pass the baton. And what I was shown was the waves of the ocean. And there was lots of people, a bit like, like you get the tabletop football, the people that are they're all on like the sticks, aren't they? I was being shown like that on these waves. You have all these people on the top on the waves as the waves are at the surface. And they were showing that the people that are tired and exhausted, they slide down underneath the surface of the waves, they retreat to the depths, and they pass the baton to those who are able to come up now and hold the light and to ride the stormy high waves and tackle what's going on and share their light with the world, while they are resting, becoming the undercurrent, quietly gathering their strength and waiting to rise once more to allow them to do the same. And then the others will come down and rest. And it's just this complete cycle. The waves going up and down. That's where we have to balance in humanity. So this is what I was saying to you earlier about being mindful how much energy you're expending, and working on yourself, healing yourself, nourishing yourself, so that you are then strong to be able to come up and to move forward and to shine your light into the world. Rest so you don't become depleted. And we're not all here to fix everything. We all have a part to play. And that's why we also don't need to know everything. The people that need to know what they need to know in order to fulfill their soul contracts will find out, and they will be guided on that path. We have to focus on the areas where we are strong and our soul mission. And in doing that, we all play our part and we all come together. And that is unity consciousness. So for October, a storm is coming, but peace is also brewing. And I thought that was a really lovely end to what was quite an intense meditation sitting, connecting with spirit. The information coming through was kind of fast and furious, but it was interesting because I've learned some things, but also I felt more positive and uplifted afterwards. So I do hope that this has been interesting for you as well. Let me know in the comments if you are feeling this energy shift. It does feel very positive, even though it can seem very chaotic on the outside, especially on the world stage. But look at your little world, your internal world, and your world of, your family, your friends, the people close to you. And start there and watch your light ripple out. And then as we each do that and we learn and we grow, our light ripples out and it connects to more light, and then the light gets bigger than the darkness. And that is where peace can come in. Do let me know in the comments how you're feeling, how you're navigating these energies. If you've picked up anything, I know many of the people that watch me are also spiritual. Do let me know if you've picked up any information for October and the coming months. Also, if you are in other parts of the world where the spring and summer is coming for you, do let me know which things you enjoy about those periods of the season. And I will speak to you again in another video. Thank you so much for listening. Please do like, share and subscribe if you have found my content useful and interesting. And as I said, if you are interested in my animal communication work, please head over to my other channel, The Words of the Wild. You can find me on Instagram as well, Spirit Journey of Enlightenment. All of my website details are in my profiles on Instagram and YouTube. So if you wanted to look at my website and see if there is anything that interests you there with my sessions, that's entirely up to you. But thank you for being here. Thanks for listening, and I will speak to you again in another video. Take care.